Hey, this is Chris Bowling.
Hey, this is Chris Byer.
We are CB Squared.
Howdy, howdy.
Mr. Byer, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, it's a very timely topic today. We had put together kind of an informal LinkedIn poll and sent that out to our LinkedIn connections. I think I'd done it through my profile. Wanted to see what our LinkedIn connections thought of today's current economy. I know you and I have had meetings with our clients, with prospective clients in the first half of the year, a few in person, a lot virtual still, but we continue to hear really three key challenges from the CEO, from the CFO, and the HR director. How do we find people and how do we keep them? How do we get them to show up for an interview, first of all, or stay on the job? How do we continue to supply our clients with what they need because we're backed up with supply chain issues or we can't afford the cost of whatever it is? And the third one was, really we're still struggling to figure out what it means to be in person versus remote, and the world changed during COVID and we don't really know what that means yet.
Right.
We've heard that over and over and over, and it didn't matter the industry. And so our non-scientific poll specific to that, it's still open a little bit as we're recording this, but we had over 60% of the respondents say that their biggest challenge right now in the second half of the year is to source, hire, and retain talent. Chris, are you seeing that within your clients specifically? I know together we're seeing that, but what have you heard maybe from some of the industries that we're working with about employees showing up, staying, wanting to stay?
I think the best story I heard was a girl moved to the Quad Cities, and the first 4 weeks she was here, she had 4 different jobs.
Yes, in 4 weeks.
You just kept getting a better offer. And I think that's one of the challenges that we have today, is that there's no pride in loyalty, that there's no pride of saying, yes, I've worked for XYZ company for the last, 20 years. But, Chris, ownership and management, we were in a 4-hour meeting yesterday. And what was the 2 topics we talked about?
Why would somebody work for us and work within our organization? Why would they come to us, and why did they stay?
Yeah.
Those were difficult questions to answer in a post-COVID or coming out of COVID world, because it's not what it used to be.
No.
And I don't think we had the answer. I think that's really what we decided as that group was, we need the input from our team to figure out what it is that they feel. I think we walked away from that, and this might be the case for many of these employers that might be watching this, is employees want to be heard. They don't necessarily need to be incentivized in that same way. They want to be heard, and they want to be seen and understood. And if that means that they want more pay because they feel they're more valuable and they're willing to speak up for it, or they just want flexibility because their life has changed and their family needs have become more of a priority than punching the clock at work. I think it's going to differ for every employee, and it's not just the paycheck, although that's rising significantly, upward pressure on pay. It's not just the creative work environment. It's I want to feel like I'm valued and heard in my role, and that you as an owner or manager or leader of the organization actually hear what I want and are willing to provide me something that maybe I didn't have confidence to speak up again. But I think, as we see the different respondents on this poll, it's CFOs, it's HR directors, it's, some of the operations managers that have responded to this poll. And I'm thinking through some of the stories of our prospective clients that we've talked with, that they're just struggling to have people show up for the interview. And if they do get hired, they're not showing up for the second day because somebody's offering them more money. And I think that's going to be an issue for a while. I don't think that that's going away anytime soon. You can't really hear somebody's need and avoid them taking a better hourly rate somewhere else. But, we're talking more and more with our clients about what does it mean to create a retention strategy for your employees, because it's not just healthcare. That's a component, but at the end of the day, that isn't always why an employee stays if you've got 4 generations of workforce. But it's, what are we doing to incentivize that employee for longevity? Because the loyalty to the company isn't there just because they have a duty to be loyal. we're talking with clients that are looking at how do we financially incentivize somebody to be here in 5 years, be here in 10 years, not get poached for a better opportunity. And it's not just the executives, it's just key positions within the organization that help it run. Those conversations we might have had pre-COVID, but it was always, how do we keep our CEO and our executives here, and how do we protect them? But now it's, how are we helping just key roles within each location of our organization? Chris, you work, heavily with the nonprofit industry. What are you seeing from them in terms of that inflation of wages? What fears do you see from that? Because what I'm talking about with this retention strategy is more of a for-profit business.
Right. But it's the same. It's the same thing though, Chris. It's, I mean, shoot, I've got a CFO that's doing her job, but then at the end of the day of her job, she's, visiting one of their group homes and staying the night there because they can't get anybody to show up to just do that job. So,
Right.
It's the same. It doesn't matter if you're for profit, if you're nonprofit. It's how do we just get people to show up to work and that are going to come back the next day and the next day. And everyone is struggling. There is no industry I haven't ran into that is not having a hard time just getting belly buttons to show up.
Right. And, the fallout from COVID, we're still feeling that. And there's a lot of components to why wages have to go up right now, just for the demand of employees. But I don't know that that's going to go away with the wage level. I think that even if the urgency to hire and we get more people into the workforce, all of a sudden, unrelated to a minimum wage discussion that, I'm in Illinois and we're seeing that creep up, but you're just going to have the inflation because that entry level position is now at $15 or $18 or $20 an hour just to get somebody that's been at that company for 10 years that was making those wages is going to want significantly more. And
right.
I don't know that all of our companies and our CFOs really understand where that's going to be in a couple of years, but I don't see us being able to undo that and go back down. So I think that pressure is going to be there. We're going to have to pay more for talent and maybe pay more, like we said, in that retention bonus than just average wage. But, that seems to be, again, the theme of second half of the year. How do we find people? How do we hire them? And how do we keep them? And I'm excited just to hear what ideas come through from other organizations, because the creativity is not from you and I. I mean, this is something we're gleaning from all of those discussions that we have, and hopefully can bring that to our clients. So if you're doing something unique as an organization, if you have found a way to incentivize or keep your employees and you're willing to share that, feel free to message this in the comments. We would love to hear ideas that are working both in the Midwest where we are and then throughout the country. So appreciate you tuning in. Thanks so much.